Prologue, the lecture that shook the stars. The galaxy had seen tyrants, warlords, and conquerors. It had endured empires rising and collapsing in rivers of blood. But none had unsettled the interstellar order like the professor of Ulkthar Prime. He was no soldier, no fleet commander, no crowned emperor. He was a scholar, a historian, a keeper of wars past. His voice carried the authority of centuries, and his students were not mere apprentices but sovereigns, admirals, and rulers of worlds. One night, before the galaxy's most prestigious convocation, he delivered a lecture that would become legend. He stood in the high amphitheater, talons scraping against the polished obsidian stage, and declared, "The human species is a cosmic mistake, too fragile, too emotional, too undisciplined. Their colonies are scattered dust, their fleets laughable relics. If they refuse to kneel, then let us remind them, they do not belong among the stars." The chamber rumbled with laughter, students applauded, sovereigns nodded in cruel approval. And then, to seal his lesson, the professor ordered a demonstration. Opening the arrogant strike. A small human colony, Asterion 4, was chosen as his example. It was quiet, rural, and defiant only in its independence. The professor arranged for a coalition of alien students to descend upon it. They called it a practice conquest. The skies of Asterion 4 turned black with alien warships. Families scrambled to shelters. Fields burned as plasma fire carved across the horizon. The invaders crushed resistance within hours, laughing as human children were dragged into the dirt. The professor's commentary echoed across the broadcast. "Observe their cries, see how swiftly they break. This is the human truth, pitiful when tested." Billions across the galaxy watched the feed. And when it ended, the colony was ash and bones. Celebration of arrogance. The victors feasted. The convocation chamber glowed with arrogant applause. The professor smiled, his fangs glistening. "Now the galaxy understands," he declared. "Earth's legacy is dust. They cannot defend their young, their weak, their exiles. The age of humanity's irrelevance begins tonight." Alien councils laughed. Trade guilds began negotiating the dismantling of human colonies. Admirals reassured their people there would be no reprisal. After all, humanity was too quiet, too patient, too civilized. They would grieve, perhaps, but never respond. In that silence, arrogance flourished. The first whisper, "Earth speaks." But the galaxy misunderstood silence. Weeks later, when the convocation gathered for another lecture, a new presence appeared in the chamber. It was not expected. It was not invited. A lone human stood among the towering aliens. He wore no armor, no weapon, only the plain insignia of Earth's diplomatic corps. The professor sneered. "Ah, a survivor, perhaps, come to weep before us." The human did not bow, he did not tremble, he simply spoke. His words were calm, but his voice carried like thunder. "You struck one of ours. You think Earth has forgotten. You think silence means weakness. But understand this, silence was patience. And patience has ended." The chamber fell into stillness. Every sovereign, every admiral, every student felt a chill. For the first time, the galaxy realized humanity had spoken. The breaking of silence. Hours later, strange signals rippled through the void. Unfamiliar codes, ancient, encrypted, impossible to decipher, slammed into alien comm grids. Entire sectors went dark. Outposts received chilling broadcasts. "This is Earth Command. Your war has been noted. Your punishment begins." On the rim of Orion space, alien patrol fleets vanished. Sensors picked up enormous gravitational distortions, fleets emerging from hidden slipspace corridors. They were not merchant convoys. They were not outdated relics. They were Terran dreadnoughts. Their hulls were blacker than night, swallowing starlight. Their weapons' arrays hummed with energies unknown, and upon their prows, painted in white stark letters, was one word: justice. The turning point, humanity mobilizes. In silence, Earth had prepared. For centuries, while the galaxy dismissed them as fractured, humans had built in hidden shipyards buried in asteroid belts. They had forged war machines in the cold silence of Uit clouds. They had trained armies in underground fortresses where no satellite could see. Now those forces surged forth. Entire constellations blinked with human fleet mobilizations. Battleship groups materialized above colonies once considered abandoned. Carriers the size of moons unfolded their wings, releasing squadrons of fighters like swarms of steel locusts. Comms across the galaxy lit up with terrified reports. Unknown contacts. They're human. God help us, they're everywhere. Climax, the annihilation strikes. The Professor's coalition was the first target. On Asterion 4, where human bones still smoldered, the sky split. Dozens of human dreadnoughts emerged, blotting out the sun. They gave no warning. No negotiation. Only a single broadcast. For Asterion 4. Then the stars burned. Orbital strikes rained like firestorms. Alien fortresses melted into slag. Warships that once mocked human resistance were torn apart in seconds. The ground shook as orbital drop pods thundered down, each unleashing squads of human soldiers clad in armor that turned plasma to sparks. The Professor's students begged for surrender. Their fleets tried to scatter, but everywhere they fled, Terran ships appeared, already waiting. The galaxy learned the truth that day. Humanity had mastered war by anticipation. The fall of the Professor. The Professor himself was dragged from his citadel. His once thundering voice was silent as he was cast before the human envoy who had first spoken in the chamber. The envoy said nothing at first. He simply looked at the alien scholar, the one who had mocked humanity as weak, who had ordered a colony destroyed for demonstration. Finally, the human whispered, "You wanted to teach a lesson. Consider it taught." And then the Professor was gone, his fate erased, his memory left only as a warning. Aftermath, whispers of dread. The galaxy was left in ruins. Alien fleets burned, councils fractured, trade guilds begged for ceasefire. And yet humanity did not gloat. They did not build an empire on conquest. They simply withdrew, fleets vanishing back into the dark as quickly as they had appeared. What remained was silence. But silence now was terror. On every alien world, children whispered, "Do not provoke Earth." Sovereigns cautioned their heirs. Humans are patient, but their vengeance is infinite. And across the stars, the Professor's last lesson was remembered not as arrogance, but as warning. Epilogue, the voice that changed the stars. All it took was one human standing in a chamber of monsters, one voice breaking the illusion of weakness, one whisper that became a storm. The galaxy had mocked them, had struck their children, had feasted on their grief. But when the human spoke, Earth answered. And the answer was louder, darker, deadlier than anything the stars had ever known.